Welcome to Technado with Don Pizzette, featuring sysadmin expert Don Pizzette, security specialist Daniel Lowry, and Peter.
Hello and welcome to Technado with Don Pizzette. I'm your host, Peter Van Rysdam, and I am joined, as always, by Don Pizzette. Don, how you doing today?
Sadly, due to a pre-show conversation, I'm trying to get the idea of eye spiders out of my head.
That's what you want to do with eye spiders.
Thank
Get
you,
them
Daniel.
out of your head.
Well, you know, I'm here to help.
And Daniel, I don't know if I should ask, but how are you?
Man, if I could just get these eye spiders out of my head, I'd be
Right,
great.
it's a theme.
Yeah. It's a rough day.
We are joined today by a special guest, Victoria Mosby, who is a federal sales engineer at Lookout. Victoria, how are you?
I'm doing good, though now I want to wash my hair because I feel like there's eye spiders in it. So thank you, all of you, for that.
You'll be glad to know there are actual worm parasites that will live in your eye.
I am glad to know that.
This is a tech news podcast.
That must be what those floaters all are
That's it.
that I see every now and again.
Oh,
like
man,
this.
stinking parasites.
I don't like this at all.
Yeah.
Victoria, what does the rest of your shirt say? I just see nerdy.
Oh, nerdy by nature.
Oh, okay.
I like
Nerdy by
that.
nature. I get it.
Let's
All
see
right.
what you did there.
Yeah, it's a play on words. What you got there? All right. Do you need a big clock? Do you have a clock as well that you could wear?
No,
Or is that
no,
public-
I'm
that's
not,
public
I'm not
enemy.
flexible.
That was public
enemy.
That's public
Yeah.
enemy. Yeah.
Way to go, Peter.
Ruin the show. But at least we're not talking about eye spiders. So, oh, now we are.
Yeah,
I know,
dang
back
it.
to that.
You pull them out, actually.
Let's shift gears and get to our first segment. Let's get to know more about Victoria in rapid fire questions.
Who do you work for?
What's new?
Who are you?
What's happening?
What's wrong with you?
All right, Victoria, in this segment, what we're going to do is throw questions at you rapidly. On the side of your screen, you'll see a timer, and you'll have approximately 1 minute to answer each question. If you take too long, Peter will buzz you. Like that. And then we'll move on to the next question. So our first question is coming at you from Peter.
All right. Well, I mentioned that you are a federal sales engineer at Lookout. So what is it that Lookout offers, and what is your role there? What does that mean, the sales engineer?
Sure. So I'm the technical arm of an account team. So you have the account managers, and then you have me. I'm the ones to keep the account managers on track, and even if they say one thing, I actually show what it actually does. So I do the integrations, the implementations, answer all the technical questions, both pre and post sales. I do webinars. I do not lectures, but sessions, technical things like that. So Lookout, though, we started as a mobile security company protecting mobile devices, like your phones here or your tablets. And we've been doing that in the consumer space since 2007. You can find us on any of the major app stores. And we also do enterprise version and protect the phones similar, but much more sophisticated to an antivirus. So protecting your apps, your network, your device itself, protecting against phishing attacks, which is, as I think we all know, probably the number one threat vector to anything and everywhere. That's kind of how ransomware tends to happen. It usually starts with a phishing attack. I work in covering DoD primarily, DoD space.
All right. Now, when I think of Lookout, I do think of Lookout Mobile Security. I've used the product myself in the past, and obviously a commercial entity, but there is a charitable foundation also, and you are on the board of it. So what exactly does the
Yes.
Lookout Foundation do?
Yeah, so the Lookout Foundation is our arm to give back. We do a pledge 1%, which is what a lot of Silicon Valley tech companies started doing, where we give back 1% of our revenue, 1% of employee time, and 1% of our product back to different charities and organizations. The foundation specifically has 3 thematic goals or focuses: women in STEM, internet freedom and data privacy, and supporting underrepresented communities. And various things we've done out of that include Day of Security, which is where we have a women's only conference. We actually just did our first virtual event in March, and we had over 1,100 attendees in a virtual event. So
Wow.
It was actually pretty cool.
I had a boys only treehouse growing up.
I'm sure it was nice.
Yeah,
With one attendee.
Is that where you counted your eye spiders? Yeah. Now, segueing off of that, actually, little birdie told me that one of your pet projects is actually trying to help women get into the tech space, into IT.
Yep.
How's that going? What's that looking like recently?
Very well. As I mentioned, the Day of Security in particular is a big piece of that for us. We started that back in 2017 and did multiple live actual events in the San Francisco area and in Boston and up in Toronto. And then obviously because of COVID, this past March, we did a virtual event, over 1,100 attendees over a course of a single day. We had about 80 speakers and I want to say 50 plus sponsors, including some pretty big names. And that has been great. In addition to that, the Lookout Foundation also sponsors different women-focused organizations. We just partnered with one, and I'm blanking on the name off the top of my head, and it hurts my heart to do that, where we are sponsoring 2 women of color through essentially an internship program into the tech space where they're going to learn. It's almost like a scholarship for various tech classes, but we'll also be doing mentoring with them. And then we're also looking to expand that to grow it so that we can keep doing this and do it at a larger scale. This is kind of our first pilot into it. So, but we're definitely looking forward to expanding on that.
And that Day of Security, you were one of the speakers as well, I believe. What did you talk about there?
I was mostly more on the tech side of it, in that I was the technical arm for the rest of our booth because it's all virtual. And as we know, things never work as they should on the day of, especially. But I did do a brief kind of day in the life talk about my experiences at Lookout, what I do as a sales engineer, a little bit about my background. Which actually mobile is rather new-ish comparatively over my career. Just been doing it about 3 years now. But yeah, it was a great time, and it was a lot of fun connecting with other women in that space.
And last question, I know your original kind of career path you were looking for was in the video game world, but as a kid, what was your game of choice?
Oh, I had 3. The Legend of the Dragoon, Final Fantasy VII, and Chrono Cross. Those were my top
Good picks.
3.
That's like all PlayStation 1 era.
Yeah.
Yeah. I started with the original Nintendo, but the PlayStation 1 was my first real full console with just all the games. And so, yeah.
It's a Duck Hunt
Loved
guy myself.
Yeah. Chocobo racing forever, right?
Oh, yes. Love the Chocobos.
Don, what was yours?
Huh?
What was your game of choice growing up?
Oh, I don't know. Mega Man 2, probably.
Actually, we had the Intellivision.
Did you
when I was
really?
a little kid, so we had
Nice.
Burger Time.
Oh, Burger Time
I was
actually
a
rocked.
Big
Nice.
Burger Time.
It's a good
fan.
name. Good game, yeah.
I'm aging myself.
Like a cheese.
Yeah, I stink. Is what you're saying. I appreciate that.
And
All right. Well, while we've got you here, let's talk a little bit about mobile security in our next segment, which is science and tech news.
Stay tuned for science and technology. And now, back to the anchor desk.
All right. So we are starting off looking at the article from TechCrunch, Security Flaws Found in Samsung's Stock Mobile Apps. And that sounds bad. But is this the kind of thing that you're working on day to day, or are you having to keep track of what these 0 days are and the latest problems and try to help plug them? Or
Yeah, so Lookout as a company, we do multiple things. So I'm, again, on the sell side. So I'm selling our mobile endpoint solution to help organizations protect their end users and their devices. But we also have a dedicated security research team that when they see these things, they just go nuts. They love this stuff. I'm actually trying to get over there if I can, because I like research. But yeah, no, anytime a new threat comes out, or we've discovered a number of big threats ourselves: Pegasus, Dark Caracal, and a few others I'm blanking on. But when you hear things like this come up, there's multifacets to it. From my perspective as a salesperson, this is great, because now I get to take this to, say, my customers or prospects, say, hey, see, I told you, you need to secure your mobile devices. From a research perspective, I'm looking at it of, okay, what happened here? And is this, can this be found in other places? What was it that triggered this to be malicious or to be bad? And will I see this as a pattern going elsewhere now that I know of it here? So there's a lot of things that come out of announcements like this. It's a compelling event for customers to finally get off their butts and do something about their mobile fleets, which they need to. And it's also a big piece for researchers to say, okay, someone has found this. We need to take this same information and apply it now and add it to our corpus of knowledge to see if we can find similar things that might be out there. Sad that it happened to Samsung, but it is kind of the nature of the beast. You don't know what you don't know until it hits you in the butt.
It's good news that this is a really rare occurrence, I'm sure. So I've looked at a couple of C-suites, talked to them. They've said, "Oh yeah, phones are." They
Totally
never
secure.
get me there. Yeah, there's no problem with that.
Actually, Daniel, the next article we had here was from solutionsreview.com and says 60% of companies call mobile devices the biggest security threat. And
that can't be true.
Victoria, do you agree with that?
That number should be much higher than 60%.
They're being kind.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, I remember when I was first starting out, I had a BlackBerry device, like one of those brick BlackBerry devices with the keyboard. I love that phone. But like even back then, they were like, "Yeah, no, you just have access to email and you can text and make message, send and talk and all that." And it's like we don't need any security for that. And maybe at some point back then, when you had like a Nokia brick phone that only used prepaid minutes, that was fairly true. But now this thing is a bloody computer sitting in my pocket. It's more powerful than the computers I had growing up, for instance. Yes, no, back to the original question. It is very much a threat vector, and it's probably the easiest one to exploit, because if you lose that phone and it's connected to back internal to your networks, you're kind of screwed.
And if it is compromised, you bring it into the office every day and connect to the wireless network at work.
Yeah, people are like a lot of companies that I attempt to sell to or speak with, or even when I'm at conferences and I'm speaking, say, "Well, we have a VPN. We don't need anything else." Your VPN is just literally giving them a direct tunnel into your network. That VPN is not security in terms of ensuring that the device connecting to it and going through it is itself protected. It is just simply saying everything outside of my tunnel of traffic can't see in. But if that traffic going through that tunnel is already compromised and or, bad, then you've literally just gave them a clear path into your network.
It's an interesting observation to see that the people that don't do security, are not involved with that type of thing, tend to look at any security as making them secure, and not that we're kind of working from the backside of this. We're behind the 8 ball, and we have to bolt on as much security as we possibly can. And yes, that's going to make your life a little bit more inconvenient, but not nearly as inconvenient as a data breach. So we're going to do that instead.
Yeah. And then you've got a lot of companies are going the way of BYOD. So bring your own device instead of doing corporate issue, because it's cheaper that way. But then you have the issue that this is someone's personal phone, and they're only going to allow you to add so much security and controls around their personal device. And when you try to put like someone like my company, like a Lookout on there that's just monitoring the health of the security and health of the device, they're like, "Oh, Big Brother's watching what I do. No, you can't do that." And at some point, it's going to come down to you either allow them to have that security on the phone, or that phone is not allowed to connect inbound. There has to be a hard line.
Now, I am curious. A lot of people blame the state of mobile security on the fact that vendors aren't updating their devices. And some vendors will only support a phone for 1 or 2 years, but people will continue to use it for 5 years without any updates. But I know Apple and Samsung actually have a really good track record of pushing security updates out for their devices. So it's kind of shocking when we see one like this where the stock install, like no third-party apps installed or just what comes on the phone, it's already got flaws or vulnerabilities that are in it. How common is that? Like, are phones just generally not trustworthy even when you don't install apps?
So that was the thing. Like years ago, Android devices, even before Google itself started putting out their own phones, would come with all these, this bloatware, all these different apps pre-installed on the device. The second you got it from Verizon or AT&T or whatever, it had all these apps on it, and they stopped doing that for that one of those exact reasons. It's because you can't control what goes into those apps. Now, in Samsung's case, they can. These are their apps. But it goes back to not knowing what you don't know until someone finds it. that's kind of the nature of 0 days. And this is not knocking on Samsung or Android or Apple or whomever. It takes a sophisticated mind and a devious mind to say, well, what if I tried this? Because there's always going to be that person or groups like, let's try this. It may not work, but let's see if it happens. Whereas your developers and your testers and whatnot, they're going either by a book and path that's already been set out for them, or they're assuming that because they follow specific coding practices, everything else is, hunky-dory. But those coding practices themselves are going to constantly be updated because new things are being found out, new, tricks and criteria are being discovered that were originally a flaw that no one knew about until it hit them in the butt. So it's just the nature of technology, unfortunately. It's not necessarily a mobile thing. It is just technology in general.
You've talked about this stuff before, haven't you? I'm
a little passionate.
So I assume you've upgraded from the BlackBerry. What does someone in
No, she's still in
mobile
BlackBerry.
security?
I saw her rocking it. It was amazing.
What do you use as someone in mobile security?
I shouldn't answer this question.
And one operating system.
Yeah, you
and
got good
what-
OPSEC, right?
what's the Mac address?
I am a Android girl. I am a Pixel specifically. I do like Android. In my case, I am aware of what risks are, to that or what potentially, because Android is, more open, more consumer focused than say Apple, which is more security, proprietary focus.
No Pine phone for you?
A what phone?
A Pine phone? The Linux based phone
no.
over-
No, actually my boss has one of those.
Does
Actually,
he
he
really?
likes it. Yeah.
Nice.
I believe it isn't.
It's Linux. It just runs Linux.
Yeah. This is basically a type of Linux when you think about it. But no, I like the Google suite. So I have a Pixel 3a because I know at least with going with a direct Google phone, when the changes and patches come out, I get them like that. I get them instantly. Whereas Samsung, while they've gotten much better at this, still takes forever in a day to update things.
I will say I received a security update like this morning. So I assume that's for the issue that they just have.
Yeah, no, they have since are fixing it or have since fixed it. It can take some time. If you ever get a chance, check out Google's Project Zero. That's where they actually announced the Apple vulnerabilities that they found a year or so ago. And they find a lot of crazy things in their space and in Apple space and just kind of all over the place.
Check that out.
Yeah.
Speaking of places where people can learn, you have a webinar series that you're involved in coming up with Lookout. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What is it? Cloud security?
Yeah. So Lookout started out as a mobile security company, but we've since acquired a CASB company, Cloud Access Security Broker, to get into acronyms. So we are expanding beyond just mobile phones to now be able to protect desktop, laptops, anything remote connecting into, say, an organization's data centers or resources. So this webinar is kind of what we're, I think, deeming the master class from endpoint to cloud, something along those lines. I'm horrible at tagging stuff. But it's a 4-part webinar series. I believe the first one either starts today or tomorrow.
I'm showing June 23rd.
Okay, there you go, June 3rd. I'm bad at promoting things. This is why I'm not on marketing. I can talk a mile a minute about the technology. Don't ask me to promote.
Well, we will put the link to this in the description so people can find that and check it out. Because it's June, July, and then a couple more in August. So definitely cool, and people will be able to register for that. And you also have a podcast that you're involved in, right?
Yeah, so Lookout has a podcast called Endpoint Enigma. You can find it on Twitter and LinkedIn, exactly that name, Endpoint Enigma. And it is a mobile-focused podcast. I've been on there a couple of times now, both talking about mobile device management solutions and how you still need a mobile threat defense protection like we sell in conjunction with it, and also kind of like a date in a life interview, which was kind of fun. But it is actually it's about 20 minutes or so, but there are a lot of great episodes on there.
Very cool. Be sure to check that out. Well, thank you, Victoria, so much for taking the time with us today.
Thank you for having me. This was a blast.
And I think anytime one of our phones break, we'll have you on as a guest next time. Well,
I can maybe do something.
Perfect. All
You
right.
could like troubleshoot in real time.
Yeah.
We'll call it an
God.
episode.
Yeah, we'll call it an episode. Just trying to get my phone fixed.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, you can hang up now. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Victoria, and thanks everybody. But stay tuned. We're gonna take a quick break. Come back with the news right after this on Technado with Don Pizzette.
IT pros who want to learn on the go? The IT Pro TV Android app is for you. Now it's better than ever with the dashboard view built in. Easily resume viewing, see new courses as they're added, and track your hours viewed. Start up your next episode with the touch of a button to binge watch on the go. Track your progress at a glance, and download episodes as an annual member for offline viewing. Access all IT Pro TV courses with a simple button. Choose landscape mode for larger viewing. Choose your course by category, certification, or job role. Watch anywhere and pick up later on your favorite devices. So head to the App Store and download the IT Pro TV app.
All right, welcome back to Technado with Don Pizzette. Thank you so much to Victoria from Lookout for joining us and making me scared to use my phone moving forward. I will be going back to, I don't know, maybe
Smoke signals.
Yeah.
Can't hack a smoke signal.
It's just reinforcement for me. I'm like, oh yeah, it's just hell in a handcart.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Welcome to the show.
Fantastic. All right. Well, hopefully some of this news today is good news. Let's see. The first comes from Microsoft, their cloud blogs, announcing Windows Server 2022 now in preview. That's exciting, right? That's good news. Right?
Sure. So a lot of big announcements coming out of Microsoft right now, which is totally counter to something I said 2 episodes ago, where the Microsoft conference had happened, the Build conference, and there really wasn't a lot significant that came out. And so I had made the comment that I thought that by canceling Windows 10X, that they had maybe like lost some of the big announcements they were going to make this year, but apparently they are ramping up for something big on the 24th. So, I'm looking forward to our next podcast episode where we can talk about whatever that announcement is. The secret rumor is, though, that Windows 11 is coming soon. And that's probably true because when they increment the desktop OS, they increment the server OS also. This week they announced Windows Server 2022 to replace 2019. They state in the article, I kind of find this hard to believe, that Windows Server 2019 was their fastest adopted server OS yet, which I actually don't know many people who moved their workload from previous Windows Server to Windows Server 2019. A lot of people switched over to Docker containers in the cloud and all the big technology. But if you look at the new features of Windows Server 2022, it is almost entirely focused on hybrid integration with Microsoft Azure. And Microsoft is doubling down on Windows containers. So containers running on top of the Microsoft Windows kernel. They're really pushing some more stuff into that to beef that up performance-wise. Windows containers in Windows Server 2022, let me see if I can find the actual number here, can access a ridiculous amount of memory. It is in here somewhere. Shoot, I can't find it fast, but something like 48 terabytes of RAM and insane amounts of storage. It's really crazy. They're trying to make it where they can simply just outperform Linux containers, and they're doing a pretty good job of it. So we'll see where that ends up.
Except for when you got to actually use the thing.
Well, there is that, right? Most web applications these days are designed to run on top of Linux technologies, not Windows.
Yeah. I just find myself like it's easier for me to use Linux. I don't know if it's because I've used it more, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've worked in a lot of Windows throughout my career, but I just find myself more at home in a Linux system.
Is this the line you're looking for, Don? The Windows Server 2022 supports business critical and large scale applications like SQL Server that require 48 terabytes of memory.
Ooh. Oh yeah, you said
48 logical cores.
Did you say terabytes?
64
terabytes,
physical sockets.
Jeez.
And up to 2,048 logical cores. I mean, that's a heavy workload. They basically said, look, we want Microsoft SQL Server to run great in a container. And to do
Mission
that,
accomplished.
you need a lot of resources. So they're really getting up to that 64 physical sockets. That's some serious hardware for a container.
Well, bouncing back to last week, hopefully those Microsoft containers are more secure in the future.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
what they don't tell you, it's an actual container that they just drill sockets into.
Perfect. Yeah, it's a Rubbermaid container.
Yeah, it's awesome. You're going to love it.
I don't know what this Kubernetes is, but it's right there in that 55-gallon tote. Fantastic. Well, it's easy to store in the attic then as
Yeah,
well.
it is.
All right, our next article comes to us from ZDNet.com. Microsoft, again, adds lightweight Visio web app for no extra fee to Microsoft 365 for business plans. I feel like there's so many features now that are just part of the 365 subscription, but the Visio upgrade is nice for
so as a network admin, Visio has always been one of those tools that's kind of frustrated me. It's great for creating flowcharts and network diagrams. It's extremely useful if you need to create documentation. Perfect for our career and what we do. But the challenge has always been it's so expensive. And you have to upgrade it all these times. And then when they brought it into Microsoft 365, the subscription cost for Visio is really high. It's something like $50 a month, some ridiculous amount.
Just to add Visio?
Just to add Visio. It's crazy.
They already give me Microsoft Paint. I just use that.
There you go. Microsoft Project is the same way. It's really expensive. So this is neat that they're rolling out a lightweight version of Visio, and they say like opt-in only right now. So you got to opt in to be part of the beta. But once you do, you can access, you can see if it's enabled for your organization by going to office.com/launch/Visio with a capital V. And I've had a chance to mess around with it. And for basic flow charting and editing or updating or even just viewing existing documents, works great. And so it's really taken me from not wanting to use Visio anymore because it's hard for me to share documents with other people. Now, we can do it right here via the web interface. So the neat feature that came out and is available already.
It's about time, Microsoft. Let's get on the thing. A little faster on the uptick, huh?
That's right.
Update the new Technado website with use Visio. Yeah, it's going to be just
all
lines,
Visio,
stars, and are connected.
Visio art, which I'm sure is a thing. I'm guessing, but.
Sure. There's ASCII art, I'm sure.
We should just change our homepage to say like Flash player required.
Silverlight.
Silverlight.
Yeah.
Click here to download the exe.
Yeah. If you get prompted, just next your way through it.
Yeah.
You're fine.
Yeah. It's all good. All right. Let's get away from Microsoft, move on to Apple now with the next article from Wired.com. Apple starts leaving Intel Macs behind in macOS Monterey. For the first time, some of Apple's own features will only be available on computers with the company's homegrown silicon, which is what, that M1 chip?
The M1 chip, yep. So Apple is going through a architecture change, right? So they're moving over their M1 chips, which are ARM processors. So you need ARM64 builds of all your applications. And this is not the first time Apple's done it. We've talked about it here on the show when they switched from PowerPC over to Intel processors back in 2005, 2006 when that happened. And then now when we have the transition over to M1. In the past, Apple's been pretty slow paced about it. Usually takes 2 to 3 years for them to eliminate the old and bring in the new. They are moving way more aggressively this time. So you actually have limited Intel processor Macs that you can buy from their website right now. If you go to the website, it's almost entirely M1s. So they really cycle that inventory pretty fast. And now new features that come out from macOS, many of them are dependent on one of the acceleration chips that's a part of the M1 SoC. And that means it won't work on Intel. So they're starting to release features like their background blurring, a maps update, and a few other things that just do not work on an Intel CPU. So Apple's really pushing people to upgrade their hardware, or maybe it's not really an upgrade. In some cases, more of a lateral.
Quick question. Price on that. If I side by side an Intel Mac versus an M1 Mac, am I seeing, because I'm assuming that just in my estimation, because they make their own chips, it should decrease the price because they don't have a middleman.
Yep.
Is this the case?
Absolutely not. So, we have over at ACI, we have a standard Lenovo laptop that we use, which is $1,000. And then if we get the same specs in a MacBook Pro, $2,400. So over double the price. Now, if you can get by, it's got an Apple on it.
Oh, there you go.
If you can get by with a MacBook Air, that brings the price down a bit, but there's very little upgradability in a MacBook Air. So you have these maximum memory counts and things. So it's a challenge. Apple hardware is expensive. The M1 processor, everybody I've talked to who's used one has really been impressed with it. They're fast and they do a really good job. So I'm not saying that,
it's
but
not bad,
you're paying a premium for it. It's expensive.
Gotcha.
But Apple was more expensive before.
They were, yeah.
So, it's interesting. I was kind of having this conversation on LinkedIn the other day where we're talking about operating systems and how well they run on X, Y, or Z platforms. And it just seems like, I think we've actually had this conversation before as well, that you get better hardware, right? Better hardware comes out faster, stronger, awesome. And then the operating system vendors just go, well, we'll just make this do more stuff. And then it basically evens that back out. So you're constantly playing this game of, I've got all this hardware. So I installed Linux the other day, and now I'm running at a base, like sitting around doing nothing, of 600 megs of RAM, and it's just chilling.
Yeah.
You know, I like that better. Why do I do that?
My iMac in my office, I have a 2015 iMac, so 7 years old. It's an old iMac, right? Apple no longer supports it. So it was stuck on macOS Catalina. Couldn't upgrade to Big Sur, can't upgrade to Monterey. So it's ended its support from Apple. I just put Ubuntu on it. And
all of a sudden, it's like a new thing, right?
It's an iMac and all-in-one, but Ubuntu detected every single piece of hardware, works perfect. I didn't load a single driver.
Nice.
And yeah, it runs great. So if that's the way they want to go, like I would never actually go out and buy an iMac just to put Linux on it. I would buy third party. But if you have one, you can really breathe life back into it.
Yeah, no doubt. I've got a 10-year-old laptop on my desk, runs like a champ, running a lightweight version of Ubuntu.
Yeah.
Works great.
But, you know, for a cash-strapped company like Apple, that's not going to get you buying new hardware.
You make a point. You make a point.
To your point,
I hope they make it, you know.
To your point, Daniel, I feel like no matter how much, space I have, storage space on my computer, I will always be at that limit where I'm deleting things so I can save new things. So, I mean, I had that on the original Packard Bell back in, 95. And
we got to be more like conservationists or something when it comes to our system resources. Consume as little as possible.
Yeah. Not going to happen. All right, our next article comes to us from Engadget.com. Google Chrome will once again show a website's full URL. The simplified Omnibox didn't help users identify malicious sites after all. So, I mean, is this mainly a security reason why they're doing this?
Yes. So last year, Google rolled out a feature that confused and irritated everyone, a feature no one asked for. And they said, that URL, that address bar up top in your browser, that's just frightening and confusing to people.
I'm not a humble caveman.
Right. Your modern ways. So they said, let's hide all that. And if you're on Google's website, no matter what URL you're on, we'll just say google.com and that's it. Or if you're on Microsoft's website, we'll make it say Microsoft.com and that's it. You don't get to see the subdomain, whether it's HTTP or HTTPS, and you don't get to see the subdirectory. It's all hidden. Well, when they rolled this out, a lot of security professionals were frustrated. They said, look, how are people supposed to visually verify they're on the right server if they're not seeing the actual URL, if you're messing around with it? And Google said, no, this will actually help security because we cut out all that extra stuff. People can focus in on the domain name. This would be great. Well, it was a stupid idea, and I think we said that at the time. And so Google has agreed. They said they actually had a very short statement about what they were doing. So it was called the Simplified Domain Experiment, and they said they deleted the Simplified Domain Experiment. This experiment didn't move relevant security metrics, so we're not going to launch it.
I would have laughed if it was because it was stupid.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back in the archive, and I'm going to find that episode where we talked about this. And if we were right, I'm going to cut that clip in right here.
Yeah.
Shoot, nothing happened.
Yeah. Darn.
We probably loved it.
Don, is this something that's just to Google Chrome, or is it all Chromium-based browsers that had this?
Just Chrome. Like Microsoft Edge did not do it.
So that's why I'd never experienced this.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Could you override that?
You could override it. Yeah. What you would do is, and I think the article even talks about it. It was like pretty easy to
download
override.
Firefox.
You had to take a loved one up to the top of a mountain where the Red Skull was, and then you'd throw them off into the abyss.
Okay.
And then you would get the ability.
And you get the old URL.
I don't remember what the option was called, but you would like right click on the address bar and you would see it as a check thing that you could disable. So it was pretty easy to disable if you knew about it, but most users don't.
Show full URL, so I can click.
Okay.
Oh, look at that.
There we go.
Oh, there's an S. Oh, there's all this information.
Goodness gracious.
Oh my God, I've been hacked.
Google has messed around with things a couple of times like this that are standard things that people just consider common sense, but Google wants to try something new, and here we are.
Google.ru is the same, right?
Yeah, definitely. That's
Google for you, or no, RU.
Yeah.
I actually like to use that one because I know that the Russian government is filtering and protecting my data, and I don't have to pay for it, right? It's not my taxpayer dollars.
Got that going.
So are they just basically flipping it where it's off by default, but you can still turn it on if you want to?
In Chrome 91, they are turning it off, and I don't think you can turn it on. I think it's just going away
because it's obfuscating dangerous things.
Yeah,
so it shouldn't be turned on.
They didn't say they were setting it to off by default. They said they were deleting the experiment.
It's gone.
I'll just go back to putting a little piece of duct tape over that edge of the browser.
There you go.
That's what I typically do. All right, let's take a look at the next one here from cnet.com. Fastly internet. I thought I was reading this wrong at first. I'm like, that's not how you would describe the internet.
Yeah.
Fastly internet outage explained how one customer broke Amazon, Reddit, and half the web. The internet was brought to its knees by a massive outage on Tuesday. That's Tuesday of last week. Now we know exactly what the cause was and how the problem was fixed. So we didn't report on this last week because we
had no information.
We don't know why, but we know there was a big outage.
Yep, and this headline's a little misleading in that it says one customer broke this stuff. The customer didn't break it. Fastly broke it, right? Yeah. So if you're not familiar with Fastly, I'm not surprised. You know, they're a CDN, a content distribution network. CDNs operate all around the world. And when you go and access a website from like Amazon or Apple or whatever, it's rare that you're actually going to their servers. You're almost always going to a CDN partner because they'll have servers that are near you. Akamai is the biggest one, but you also have Cloudflare, Fastly, and a handful of others that are out there that people can take advantage of. So if you want to launch a website and have it load nice and fast all across the globe, Fastly. You don't have to, Fastly.
You get it.
You don't have to spin up servers all across the globe. You can just use theirs, right? And so your servers run, they clone your data and put it in their cache and then serve it up from the cache out to the internet.
I'm sorry. Hold on. Isn't that what like AWS is?
So AWS does have where you can build a CDN in it, right? So that's CloudFront.
But not by default.
You have to pay for it, right? If you want to use CloudFront, it's a service you can enable. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm learning what the cloud is. Go ahead.
Now, it's interesting you ask, though, because Amazon was one of the sites that was affected. And you would think, doesn't Amazon eat their own dog food? Why aren't they using CloudFront? And the reason is CDNs have problems sometimes, and you want redundancy. You want to be able to flip around and so on. And that's something that Amazon was set up. So some of Amazon went down, not all of Amazon. It was the parts they were running through Fastly. Well, what happened was Fastly rolled out an update to their management infrastructure on the back end. And everything was fine for like 2.5 weeks. But it turns out there was a bug that went unnoticed in their update, that in a certain edge case, a customer would be able to roll out a configuration change, a valid configuration change, and it would cause a cascading failure across the entire Fastly network and blow everything up.
Well,
right?
I mean, what's the odds that'll happen? Huh? Don't worry about that.
So that's exactly what happened. It took 2.5 weeks, and a unnamed customer, unnamed because it's totally not their fault, right? Yeah. Hit this edge case and really brought everything down. Now, it affected a huge portion of the internet. The outage was very small. It was like 49 minutes, I think is what they said, under an hour, right?
So they were Fastly at getting it fixed.
Hey, Fastly, they're a really good company. There's some amazing talents. They were able to find the problem. They said they found the problem within 1 minute. So that's pretty awesome.
That's fast.
But it took them about 49 minutes to get most of their customers back online. Now, my favorite, though, is when this happened, right? 85% of the company's networks stopped responding. So huge outage all around the world. Everybody sees it. On their status page, they put, where is it? Hang on. They put this ridiculous status message. Oh, shoot. I totally ruined the delivery on that. Here it is. We identified no, that's not it.
Okay.
Come on.
It's in there somewhere.
It's in here somewhere.
When Reddit,
we're peeing our pants and setting the building on fire. We'll be back shortly.
I will say that when Reddit and Spotify and Twitch went down, I had no choice but to go back to work. It was a bad morning last Tuesday.
Well, he's trying to shop on Amazon and nothing going in a cart.
I'm like, fine, let me just go watch some streaming games on Twitch. No,
I can't find the message, but basically they put out this status update that said, here, I found it. We're currently investigating potential impact to performance with our CDN, which apparently means our network's totally hosed and down.
We broke the internet.
So they are a good company. They do have great people, but whoever updates their status page should be fired.
Man, you know what we need to do? We need to create like an account on some sort of social media that does interpretations of these.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just like, we are not working right now.
Because the way they said it here, when I hear a performance issue, I'm thinking, well, it still works. It's just slower than normal, right?
Yeah. By performance issue, I mean zero performance.
Yeah.
Remember Key and Peele had that sketch with the Obama interpreter?
He interpreted him.
And that's what you need here. But like,
exactly.
What does that actually mean? That means the internet's broken.
Yeah, this is a broken thing.
We did it.
I guess they were still serving up something. It was
Maybe we'll fix it.
It was that error message.
503 errors, yeah.
Because everybody knows what that means.
Because they use a different CDN for error messages. All right. Well, let's go over to our last article for the day, which is our news segment, Doe.
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, so.
Do!
That kind of do. Yeah. All right, this one is from live-feeds.com.
The leading name in network news.
Where you go, I mean, it looks like just a personal blog, but a congressman in charge of cybersecurity at the Pentagon accidentally published a password from his mail.
Oopsie.
And so what he did is he was actually like calling out another congressman for something, you know, some political spat, and he took a photo of his monitor, and on that was something labeled Gmail and something labeled PIN, I think, which is almost even more concerning.
So
that's bad.
You know, in the U.S. government, they actually, especially in the Pentagon, they have two different networks. In the military, there's the SIPRNet and NIPRNet. And so, you know, one of them is connected to the public internet. One is not. And when you're on that secure network, you can't communicate out. So it's kind of isolated and protected. I don't know which network he was on, but basically he posted a picture that showed his computer monitor. And the picture was really focused on the screen. But if you look really carefully down at the bottom, you can see that there's some kind of sticker on the base of the monitor. And so somebody saw this tweet and kind of zoomed in, you know, like on CSI, I said enhance 4 times. And then in that little sticker, you can actually see the note that has his Gmail password and a PIN for something. Now, the PIN, you know, it could be any number of things. We don't know. They could be doing multi-factor authentication where he types in a password followed by that PIN, or it could be just, you know, his bank account PIN. I don't know.
It's a combination of numbers and letters, which is interesting for a PIN. So I would think probably not banking, but...
And it's 8 digits.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Was this the guy that was sleeping with the Chinese spy for 20 years? I feel like it is.
There's another post here that says launch codes.
I'm going to look that up because I'm pretty sure Eric Swalwell, who is the head of like the cybersecurity.
Yeah, that's the scary part. Well, and he was complaining too about getting served with a lawsuit where they came into his house and served his wife, and he basically is accusing the other congressman of trespassing.
Oh, yeah, that's him.
That's him?
That's him.
Nice.
Eric Swalwell and an alleged Chinese spy. What we know from the Washington Post.
Wow. All right. So he's definitely
Swalwell's the one he was accusing. Mo Brooks is the representative that put his...
Oh, gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I was like, what? This guy's really messing up.
Well, what Mo Brooks was trying to do was to post a picture of something from the Alabama code, 13A-7-2. And so he had brought that web page up and took a picture of it. And that's how we got this little note. I did think, did you see what his password was?
I didn't see it, no.
So just kind of looking at it at first, I noticed there's some similar numbers between the PIN number and his. And so, you know, his name is Mo. I didn't look up his wife's name, but his wife's name is probably Mary or Maria or something.
Gotcha.
Because his password was MoMar5456, which are likely the years they were born, because the PIN numbers are M454, M956. I'm going to guess that's April of 1954 and September of 1956. I think this is, what's that called, Daniel, when people use easily guessable stuff?
It's called stupid.
Yeah. That was a name.
Dumb as a bag of rocks.
Yeah, no. We'll be kind and say, a mistake. That is a mistake.
All right. So the next time you hear somebody like Bruce Schneier say, you know, the U.S. government needs to pass regulations to protect our cybersecurity, these are the people that Bruce is asking to protect us.
Yeah. Starts at the top.
Yes. They're like, security's easy. I just took my wife's name, my name. Oh, did I just tell you that out loud?
I mean, and you know, like if he did get locked out, you know, if I got locked out, it's a mess. If he gets locked out, he can probably like subpoena somebody from Google to just, you know, hey, reset my password, please. I screwed up. I don't have that kind of
I love when people like post things in, you know, LinkedIn or whatever that says, did you know that LinkedIn has a filter that will block out your social security number or password? Go ahead and try it. And then people are like, here's my password. Like,
I just looked up Mo Brooks' birth date, April of 1954.
Well, there you go.
There's the 454.
Do you have his wife's name?
Yeah. No, we'll fully cyberstalk this guy.
Wikipedia entry doesn't have all that.
Well, let me just log into his Gmail.
Now we do have to be careful.
Look at his calendar. When's his wife's birthday?
So I'll stop here because he's a public official, so it's fair game. But his wife, that would be like doxing.
Yeah, we don't want to
run afoul of YouTube and get our hard strike.
Nor
or
do we
whatever.
want to dox people.
Unless she's like in a commercial with him, like where they're like walking hand in hand down the beach and talking about America.
Yeah, well,
Which I assume.
there we go.
She
So
may have done.
the lesson here is that every time we joke about somebody putting their password on their monitor, it's because it really happens. It happens a lot. And when we talk about weak passwords, people are using them. It's just sad to see somebody in this position.
I talked about this with David Bombal because he said, you know, I do something about cracking a password, and people will kind of like always chime in and say, well, that was an easy password. It was found in a known dictionary file. It's like, people use passwords found in known dictionary files. I don't know what to tell you about that.
Yeah.
You know?
This one, though, it kind of reminds me. Do you remember we had an article? It was probably a year or two ago. There was a Japanese official who was the one who was in charge of cybersecurity who never used a computer.
Oh, that's awesome.
And he said he didn't have to. He had his people that did that. And so that's kind of what we're looking at here.
Well, good to know.
Yeah.
I feel good.
But what you don't know is that some of those letters were capitalized.
Yeah.
So
oh, man, you
good
got me
luck
there.
cracking that.
I guess I'm foiled.
All right. Well, speaking of having all your stuff stolen, we've got a webinar coming up actually today.
That's a nice download to go along with it.
Yeah, exactly. We'll send you all the notes in PowerPoint with macros enabled. Thursday, June 17th, Dissecting Malware, How Reverse Engineering Can Help Protect You. And that is with Daniel Lowry right there and John Hammond from the internet, from YouTube, our guest last week, who tied you guys for rapper or malware. So, I mean, I guess he knows his malware.
He does.
We held our own.
Or he doesn't know his rappers.
We're really good guessers.
Yeah, I did not make it hard enough. But head over to itpro.tv/webinars. You can register for that one. And don't worry, if you're listening to this after the fact, you can go back and we'll have the archive up there and you can enjoy it at your leisure.
Nice.
You take your time. And while you're on the internet, head over to technado or technado.com. And I won't make fun of Dayon today because he's actually in the office.
Yeah. I believe he could take you in a fair fight.
He did threaten me earlier, but I locked the studio door, so you should be fine.
Take that, Dayon.
So yeah. I hope Croatia loses in the whatever soccer contest you're playing right now.
I believe it's called a match.
Yeah. Keep poking the bear.
No, they've got the big tournament right now, the Conquistador.
The Conquistador Cup, the biggest
in Croatia.
Yeah, it's happening right now. They're all kicking.
Why are they speaking Spanish?
Kicking a ball around right now like a bunch of idiots. All right. But head over to technado.com and you can check out all the latest episodes. You can send us some mail and let us know what articles we should cover. You can also hit that big orange button, sponsored by IT Pro TV, and check out the IT Pro TV page where you can get a 30% off coupon code for the lifetime of your personal plan to IT Pro TV. And you can also request a team trial if you're part of a business and want to get the whole team over there on IT Pro TV. You can see all the great features available to you there. That's all over at technado.com. So check that out. Well, guys, thanks so much. Thank you to Victoria for joining us today. Any closing thoughts here?
I just find it interesting that you insulted the fan base of the largest fan base of a sport, of the largest sport in the world, and just kind of...
No, I think they would all agree with me that the Croatian team is just trash. It's just trash. Then on that note, no eye spiders tonight, anybody?
Eye spiders? No, you got to pull them worms out, though.
Yeah, I think we all made it.
Yeah.
All right.
I got the tweezers.
Good. All right. We'll see you guys next week right here on Technado with Don Pizzette.